What if you were the living embodiment of all pervasive peace? What if all sentient beings all around you increase their vibration towards harmony by merely being in your contact? What if, through conscious reasoning, focused will, and intentional living, you reform yourself, thereby becoming a catalyst in sparking transformation in others? I'm Shilpa Lewis, meditation, mindset, and mindfulness coach for midlife mompreneurs, and you are listening to Omnipresent Awareness, the podcast that will inspire you to use your story to serve humanity in not just healing, but thriving as souls, each fulfilling their highest purpose. Welcome to Omnipresent Awareness with Shilpa. This is your host, Shilpa Lewis, owner and founder of Omni Mindfulness Coaching. Before we get started, if you haven't already booked a free discovery session with me, click on the link in the description. I'm a holistic transformational life coach, specializing in helping midlife mompreneurs bring balance, clarity, and life alignment both personally and professionally, so that you may live your best life. There is tremendous healing value in simply being able to know someone is holding authentic space for you to listen and be accessible as an accountability partner and mentor. If you feel overwhelmed, or if you feel the need for some support navigating life as a mother or as an entrepreneur, I would love to provide you with my coaching. If any anecdotes from the stories of the guests from this episode or any of the podcast episodes resonate with you, or if you find any value at all from the content from these episodes, then consider booking a free discovery call with me. Together, we can manifest my vision to be instrumental in the biggest rise in consciousness and awareness and human transformation. And now, here is today's episode. And now, a conversation recorded with my partner in awareness, Tanya, from our joint podcast, Mindful Mompreneur Moments. And oh yeah, if you could, please listen to the very end of the podcast for powerful insights from our guest. Thank you. Next up, Pam Holland, the virtual home organizer. Pam is a natural problem solver. She can get lost in studying decluttering, organizing, habits, happiness, mindfulness, and how the brain works. Her quirk is that she enjoys tidying her home. She is the founder of the business Mindful Decluttering and Organizing. By practice, she is a professional home organizer and decluttering guide. Since 2005, she has had the honor to help people that are overwhelmed by clutter create a calm and clutter-free space in their homes through mindful decluttering and organizing. She passionately believes that decluttering and creating order is sacred work. She believes that ties that you have to things can keep you from reaching your full potential. By releasing things that no longer serve you, you create space for new opportunities to flow effortlessly into your life. She believes you have within you the wisdom and power to release things that no longer serve you. Through her services, she offers compassionate guidance to support you as you discover how to tap into that knowledge for yourself. Pam is also a lover of taking walks in nature. She's been married for 30 years and has one grown son. She and her husband Scott are grandparents to a rescue kitty named Tabby. She loves to lift people up, inspire them, and encourage them to be compassionate with themselves and others. And now, here's Pam.
Pam, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome again, and thank you for being here.
It's great to be here.
Thank you for being here.
So Pam, we're going to get right into the questions we have for you. Tell us a little bit about your journey and becoming a mindful decluttering and organizing expert.
Well, my journey begins like, a lot of people's actually, I believe, which was being let go at a job and thinking, oh goodness, what will I do with myself now? And it was actually, I had a dear friend, Peggy, who I walked with every single morning. And, we would have conversations about what should I do. And she said, I think you should organize people. And I was like, okay. Do people get paid to do that? And so this is back in 2005. And that was, pre Marie Kondo, pre home edit, any of that stuff. But, long story short, I found out that it was indeed a profession. And at that time in 2005, there was a national association, but they didn't offer any training programs. So basically everybody who was a professional organizer at that time had just decided to be a professional organizer. And so I thought, okay, well, I guess I could do that too. So a couple of flyers at the video store, the co-op, and popular restaurant, and took off. Things really took off though in around 2008 when I started doing workshops. That's when my practice really grew, and I love teaching and training.
And it's so nice that we found you, because full disclosure, I am kind of obsessed with keeping things organized. And you mentioned Marie Kondo. I had gotten introduced to her a few years back, and I literally went into my son's drawers and kind of folded it, the way she folds it, and she makes it stand up so that you can see everything. So it's and she's so mindful as well. So it's so nice that you call yourself the mindful decluttering expert, because it's such a freeing thing to be clutter-free.
True. Like I have a junk drawer that's not really a junk drawer because it's so obsessively organized.
Yeah. Pardon me?
It's a stuff drawer.
That's right.
Mindfully organized one. And so Pam, could you tell us a little bit about how you integrate mindfulness modalities into your work as well as everyday life?
Yeah. Well, I'll start with my personal practices. I use guided meditations. I mostly use Insight Timer, even though I have a couple other ones. But I routinely do a meditation in bed before I get up, just to get my mind in the right space. And sometimes I'll also take my phone into the bathroom and listen to a different one, like maybe a chakra one. I'll do a like waking up one in the bed, and then maybe a different one while I'm in the shower. And then I also do that at night. I have one that I like to use to get to sleep. And then, but in my work, what I do when I work with clients individually is we usually begin with a centering exercise. And during that time, I just invite them to get in touch with their vision, sort of wander in their mind's eye through their home and noticing without judgment what they see in each room, and getting in touch with how they want to feel in each room. And then I also have a membership program, a monthly membership program, and we just incorporate mindfulness throughout that program. And one of my co-leader is a mindful self-compassion advocate who actually trained with Kristen Neff and Michael Gerber. So we're blessed to have her lead some of the events as well.
That is just so amazing. I love that you integrate mindfulness in these things. I'm going to say it again, because the audience that we're targeting, we're trying to really show the power of being mindful towards the people that you serve, in order for it to just feel so good. Once you're giving the service, you give it without any regrets, any, it's just such a beautiful thing.
And Pam, I like how you mentioned that when you work with them, they do a scans and it's without judgment, because often that feeling of, oh my gosh, I'm not good enough because I have so much overwhelm in my life comes to play as I walk from room to room, often in my own home.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I had one time just on the door of when I was giving a workshop was, you are not your stuff. And that spoke to a number of people, because, you are not your stuff. Your stuff is a representation in most cases of what's going on for you internally. And it will also affect what goes on for you internally, your thoughts, your feelings, etc. But, it's not who you are ultimately.
That is quite powerful. Yeah.
It's a reflection of who you are, but you can choose at any time to create a different you and a different reflection. And of course, we change so much throughout our lives. You guys are in a particular phase of life right now.
That's right.
That's very different from when you were, in college or single, or even in your corporate jobs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I love that you actually mentioned that, because when you're decluttering, sometimes there's such an attachment to something, and just knowing that you're in a different phase in your life, you might be a bit more willing to let go of a certain thing because, it's just time to let go. So yeah, thank you for that answer. Which brings us to
for people, though. It is very difficult to let go of your identity.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That is so true.
Yeah. Yeah. And you may have already answered this question in certain ways, but I'll ask anyway. How would you say you live intentionally? Can you give us another example?
Well, lately I've just basically been, mindfulness 101, slowing down, pausing. I love Esther Hicks has a concept that they call segment intending. It's basically just paying attention between transitions in your day. So you wake up, and then you maybe do breakfast, okay? Then maybe you take a child to school. Well, at each of those transition points, that's an opportunity to pause just for 30 seconds and think, what is my intention for this next segment or this next activity? Which your intention for when you're making breakfast will be very different from when you're driving your child to school, or when you're coming home back and thinking about your work day or whatever. But thinking about our intentions throughout the day. I think it's great to journal about it at night. It's great to journal about it in the morning. But I think the more that we can incorporate it into our daily lives and notice when we're feeling, and notice if we're having feelings that one might say are not so uplifting, we can pause, get in touch with that feeling, and find out what it's suggesting to us.
That is a very powerful statement or advice that you're giving, because I find that oftentimes we're just on the rush, go, 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 go. There's not enough pauses during the day. And I like to do what I like to call those little micro meditations, where you simply just pause and take 2 deep breaths. But then taking it a step further and doing it at every transition, like you say, is extremely powerful. And I love the idea of setting out an intention. So yeah, it's great advice. Thank you. Yeah.
One other thing that I've been utilizing a lot is using your senses. And, you can do that anywhere, but it's particularly powerful to do it in nature.
Mm-hmm.
And Even a short walk, or even just stepping out on your front porch or your deck and doing your 2 breaths there, and noticing, it's so different from in here. It just look at the sky, listen for the birds. Your senses are so powerful in helping to bring you into your body.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I recently started to just pause and go in the back lawn and walk barefoot, just to really get myself grounded.
Yes.
Those micro walks are useful.
Yeah, that's a great thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Tanya? What do you have any little practices like that to share?
Besides my little macro deep breaths that I take, Shilpa had actually told me about the going in the back with just barefooted, because, just feeling the earth is just so powerful, I find. So yeah, that's one of my things as well. I don't do it as often as I wish I would, but my first thing that I do a little something like you, Pam, is that as soon as I open my eyes, I find something that I'm grateful for, and I really get into that before I get out of bed. So that's one of the things I do.
Yeah, gratitude is so powerful.
It is.
It's absolutely.
Yeah.
So what insights would you share with our audience on how to live with intention?
Well, I think they're pretty much the same things we've been talking about, just with slowing down and paying more attention to how you're feeling and how whether you're reacting, just reacting, or whether you're being proactive, particularly in relationships. In the decluttering realm, relationships in a household can get very charged around other people's stuff. And so it's helpful just to notice what's coming up for you. What is that anger, annoyance, and even the way that you do things. Like, I'm not really all that fond of washing dishes. But if I remind myself that I am doing this out of love, whatever I do, I'm doing this out of love for myself or the others in my household. It really shifts the energy. And if you're in a family, it can shift people's willingness to support you.
Absolutely.
If you're going around doing all the work in the household and thinking, why isn't my partner helping? Why aren't my teenagers helping? If that's your energy, why are they going to want to come towards you? They're not.
Absolutely.
Whereas if you're doing it with love, and it might not happen right away if there's patterns, if there's ingrained patterns. But, I can almost guarantee you, and even if they don't come around, you will be benefiting yourself by shifting your energy, and you ladies know that.
It's interesting. My son showed gratitude this weekend because he said, "Can I go use the downstairs bathroom now?" Because I was cleaning it, and I said, "Yes, it's clean." And just 3 years ago, before I started to really work on that mindfulness aspect, I would get so angry when it came time to cleaning those bathrooms.
Yeah.
The family knew about it. And it wasn't that I don't like to clean. It's just the energy of, oh my gosh, why can't people just pick up after themselves?
Yeah, and seriously, and she has such a beautiful child who's so mindful in general. But Pam, I felt like you were talking directly to me, because full disclosure, till this day, I know you said you ladies know, as much as you still go back into those bad habits of feeling resentment for being the one to do this, right? So I know the resentment, and I meditate on it. I have to let it go, and just thinking of doing things with love and for the people that I love and for myself. It's a big, it's huge.
it even goes into like simple acts of cooking. Like my mom would always tell me the vibration of the love goes into the food, and the people then eat it. They feel that love. And I actually love to cook, so that's the one area where that love comes through.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when you talked about energy, Pam, I've been I took an energy cleaning course once where it was about increasing your energy so that you can declutter. And I
Uh-huh.
remember thinking that every time I made space on my table or different parts of my home, it released the energy that was stagnant and allowed for new flow to occur.
Yes, that's so true. And if you have cleared a space, even if it's just that drawer, and then you walk out and you open the drawer, but particularly if you've worked in a room or a closet, and you consciously go out, come back in and feel the difference. You can feel the difference. I love going into a recently decluttered space in my clients' homes or in mine, and just be, and that's about the mindfulness, right? I mean, we don't have to notice the energy of that. Most people probably don't, you know, but we certainly can, and we can appreciate it. And for some reason, I'm just feeling like I also need to mention that we can celebrate even tiny steps.
Yeah.
It doesn't, you don't have to have completed the whole closet or the whole room in order to celebrate. So, you know, that would be another way to bring intentionality into your day, is to celebrate everything that you do, and also your family, and teach your families to celebrate.
Like the
Yeah.
small
You know,
wins
what
are
are we
important.
celebrating tonight, you know?
Yeah, the small wins. And actually, in the power of one, even if you could get one box
Yes.
thrown
Yeah,
out, it's cleaned.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We as humans, we tend to look at what we still have to do rather than what we've done. And that's where I find that taking before pictures or writing down what you've done. And a lot of times we work with a to-do list, right? And we might look at our to-do list and say, oh my gosh, you know, I only got 2 things on my to-do list. But I encourage people to also make a done list, because there's probably things that you did that kept you from that to-do list that were perfectly legitimate. You know, perfectly legitimate, perhaps much more important than what was on the to-do list. But we don't give ourselves credit for those things. So I love making a done list.
That's
That ties
amazing.
in with what Tanya and I've been doing as our projects a week.
Yeah.
We have a doing next, and done.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, that
powerful.
is very powerful.
Yeah.
But you know, again, just also count the small things, and even the things that didn't quite work out.
That's
I mean, you still did it. You
That's
still
right.
gave it your time and energy, and you probably learned something.
Yeah. You know, then you mentioned something about before and after pictures. I actually didn't realize I did this until you mentioned it, that I take pictures. Sometimes when I'm overwhelmed, I take a picture of what I'm overwhelmed by, and then I do my cleaning or decluttering, and I take a picture after, just for a sense of gratification that I got something done.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah. It's a really great way to kind of boost your you know, accomplishment side of yourself. Like it's great.
Yeah, the other thing that I enjoy about taking pictures, and of course, most of us are taking digital pictures now, so you know, you don't, if they're not any good later, you can get rid of them. But if I'm doing a room or even a closet, I like to take, you know, a picture of the whole, and then also pictures of some individual spaces. I just sort of break it down, because by doing that, for me at least, it helps me to see there's a little pocket I could do.
Mhm.
You know, it helps me to break it down into manageable chunks. Just, and I don't see it the same way unless I'm looking through the lens for some reason.
So if you were to do this virtually with a client, this is what you would ask them to do. You would ask them to take pictures, and then you would kind of tell them where that pocket needs to be arranged or rearranged.
We can if they want to. Sometimes people send pictures. Sometimes they just show me around with their camera, with their phone or whatever. But truly, it's not as much. It's helpful for me to see the stuff, but it's not as much about me seeing the stuff as them seeing the stuff and asking themselves, why is it there? How long has it been there? What does it represent? Those are the questions that I can ask people. I mean, I've worked with people just on the phone, never seen what they're working with.
Oh.
But by what they tell me about how they feel about that and how long it's been there and why they think they're so stuck, that's where the healing happens.
Wow.
So is there like a psychological or spiritual or mindset thing that's going on when people can't get rid of certain items? Or like I've got 6 or 7 boxes that are taking up space for my husband in the garage where he could be building things and doing things. It's been 4 years. Those boxes are sitting there labeled from grad school. And for some reason, I can't get rid of these old books that aren't even relevant, or reports I had written in graduate school. I wonder if I could just apply your theories to start getting rid of those boxes.
Well, what you might try initially, if it's really hard, is to get it down to 3 boxes and then get it down to 2 boxes. And the other way I like to work with things, with anything really, but those things, I mean, there might be a treasure in there, 1 or 2, more than likely not that many, but and there may be none. But when you open a box, if you can find a space to lay it all out and look at it and go, what are the treasures? What would I want to keep? Maybe this one thing from graduate school that really represents the journey I was on. Mm-hmm. And you can always take pictures or scans of things too. But if you start, instead of starting with what can I get rid of, if you start with what do I treasure, then it puts everything else in perspective, and you're allowed to keep what you treasure. And it works really well, like with books and clothes and things too, particularly with books, because books are hard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But if you start, and memorabilia too, if you're going through memorabilia, you can also decide what's worth keeping, and can I, instead of having it in the box, could I have it on a little altar or on a shelf, or could I give it a place of honor, because it's not bringing you joy in the box. Yeah, so all that stuff's certainly not bringing you joy in the box.
Right. And that element of appreciating it when you're giving it away, or when you're, almost like giving it gratitude. Thank you for serving me for all these years. Now I'm passing you on to somebody else, or unfortunately I have to put you in the trash, but just that element of gratitude again to transition,
Yeah, you can also use energy tools to break up the energy, and you can use bells, but you can even just use clapping, to break up stuck energy in a corner, or open a window, or shake it out, or dance a little bit. There's all kinds of ways to break up that stuck energy, and you're so right that that's exactly what it is, stuck energy.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
We could have you here for hours just talking about this, because I, for one, absolutely love this subject. If you talk to any one of my cousins or brothers, they will be like, oh yeah, that's like, since at a young age, I was always cleaning up or making sure everything was tidy, because, I could not stand being in a cluttered place.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
the
yeah.
same way. I love to organize, and I've actually raised a little organizer myself. My son, we were at a store recently, Trader Joe, that's a nice cheese display, and he started organizing. He's only 8.
Oh, oh, nice. Thank you so much for being with us, Pam. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, Pam. Lovely, beautiful, effective advice. We really appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and love to all your listeners.
Thank you so much. We'll be in touch.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks again for tuning in. Check out the links in the description, and please subscribe, follow, and share. And continue to be omnipresent.